Yeah, so anyway, Warbands, the most exciting addition to the game in like forever. And like I say, it's exciting because it's account-wide everything, right? And that's great. I'm really happy about that. That's fantastic. Account-wide everything, not a moment too soon. And I think we as, it's the kind of thing where if you'd done this 10 years ago, all the people that say it's exactly what the game needs right now would have been really angry about it. If you'd done this back in like MOP or Kata or something like that, people would have gone wild. They would have trashed it as being the casualification of the game, right? People who kind of fetishize kind of grinding and working hard and stuff would have been all over this, like, and giving it as like a reason why WoW is dead and stuff like that. And here's the thing, they may or may not have been right or wrong then. It was a different time, and times change, old man. And the fact that they've changed their mind on it now doesn't mean they were wrong back then, doesn't mean they're wrong now. People just change. And I think and the game changes, and what gamers need from the game changes as well. And I think we're absolutely in a position now where the game is more geared toward alts in kind of like every way. And it's past the correct time to have everything account-wide, honestly. And so there are many things that are exciting about this. Obviously, the account-wide aspect of it is really, really good. Sorry, I've got... who is this React streamer that I've got on my computer right now? No shade on him at all. The only reason I brought up this picture is because the first one that came up that had the Warbands bit, the camp bit, the character select bit on the side. All the other ones were just the picture, and I really wanted to have it with the camp kind of like character select on the side. Zaru, okay. Oh yeah, I know Zaru. Yeah, sorry, I know the name. He's got that really nice... I can't see it in this photo because it's a bit fuzzy, but he's got the really nice stone background, hasn't he? The kind of the grey stone slate slabs. Really nice. So no shade on him or anything like that. Just, I'm just using this. It's literally the first one I just pulled off the internet. It's not relevant. It's not about him or relevant to him or anything like that. In fact, if I go like this, I should be able to get, almost... Now it looks like he's reacting to me. Now it looks like he's just photobombing my stream, and that's much more fun. But yeah, so the whole account-wide thing is really, really good. I love that. That's fantastic. Obviously, that's brilliant. The shared bank tab, obviously, is incredible. The shared regent tab, where basically any character you're on, you can craft shit, and the mats that you will be using for your craft will come out of that shared regent tab. That, at the very least, an expansion too late. That in Dragonflight would have been very, very nice. But I'm not going to complain now it's here. That's awesome. He cannot believe he's meeting me. Can I pick his nose? Oh, nice. Yeah, nice. A library tab for all my books. Yes, what exactly? So, that's the biggest deal in terms of the functionality for me. I think that's amazing. There's stuff like, you can collect transmog on characters that can't equip that transmog and stuff, and all that is wonderful. Obviously, the best thing about the entire system is this camp character select screen. Sorry, I keep describing it as being camp. And like in Britain, that's got a very specific meaning. Also, that wouldn't be bad in any way. If anything, I think this camp scene could afford to be a bit more camp. Honestly. But I love it. It's so great. It's so cool. I'm incredibly happy about it. Like this kind of like RP feel about it, where your dude's just hanging around a campfire, and that's something that WoW has missed. And I've always said this. I've always said, like, if you're talking about what element of storytelling does WoW miss, it's not that, there's not enough war. It's not that, there's not enough danger. It's like, they miss campfire scenes. That's what they miss. There's plenty of war and danger still in WoW. The thing that WoW doesn't have, that other RPGs and MMOs have, is campfire scenes. I'm not even joking. Like when you're playing through Heavensward and you're doing the campaign in Heavensward and you all stop and have a little campfire, that's the best stuff. That's what brings you closer to like the NPCs that you're traveling with. That's what makes you your buddies and your team and stuff like that. And WoW has always lacked that. WoW has never had that kind of, we are a band of dudes just like going out and like everything is, it's so dramatic all of the time, from the events that happen to the way people speak, and that is, I think, still a bit of a fault in WoW, honestly. Everyone speaks like this because everything they say is so important all of the time, and there's no way you should ever think anything that I say isn't important. And when everyone speaks like that all of the time, it makes everything just seem not important, because it's like, it completely... Alex Straza is the worst. Oh yeah, Alex Straza does that, like everything she says. And it's like, why is Alex Straza talking like that? Alex Straza's got a load more chill than that, I think, and that's why someone like Chromie really kind of... but even then, I feel like they're directed to kind of really enunciate, right? Yeah, it's like if you celebrated... If Christmas really was every day, it would suck. And, when everyone speaks like this because it's so important, nothing is. Seriously, though. And that's awesome. That's great. And I've watched a lot of streamers recently who insist that what WoW needs is more people like that. It's like, where are all the buff orcs gone, dude? Where are all the buff guys gone? And I'm like, what? You mean the ones that all speak like this? I'm like, I'm not sure that would really help. Anyway, whatever. I've always thought that what WoW lacks is a campfire scene. Yo, we've got one. Not in the story. But in the character select, if anything, is even better. And I love it. I love it so much. I think it's so cool. I think it's so cute that you have your team there. Here's what I want to see. Before we go on to why I think this is so important. I want to see, obviously, changeable backgrounds for this. I want to see, at the very least, selectable backgrounds, rather than it just representing the expansion you're in or some shit like that, okay? I want to see selectable backgrounds, or like ideal scenario. This is the real ideal scenario, which I don't think will happen, but I would love it if it did. I want this background scene to represent where the character at the top of your camp list, or even the last camp character that you logged out on, I want to see it represent where you logged out. I don't think that's going to happen, but in an ideal world, that is what would happen. Like, if you are in as a span and you logged out in as a span, that's where you've made camp, right? Because that's where you've logged out. Yeah, just like the BG3 camp. Exactly like that. So, and then, yeah, if you log out in Elwyn Forest, that's where your camp is, because that's where you are. That's where you make camp, right? That would be amazing. They will monetize the crap out of that, store backgrounds. Quite possibly, yeah, and I'll fucking buy them. I will. But no, that in an ideal world, that's how it would work. For me, personally, it would represent... The background would represent literally the last place you logged out of on one of your camp characters. And it would look so cool. I can see backgrounds being trading post items. Hey, I don't rule anything out for their monetization these days, honestly. I'm not foolish enough to say they would never do this, because if I've learned anything, it's that they'll do any old fucking shit for a quid. They'll punch your granny in the foof for a $5 bill, mate. Now imagine you log out in a major city and you're not in a camp, in an inn. Exactly. That would be so cool. That's the ideal way that this works. But either way, it's really cool. I love it. What an amazing and if it's animated as well in any way, right? We should imagine it would be, even if it's just like idle kind of animations and stuff, like slight bobbing. It's going to be brilliant. It's going to be absolutely splendid. Why is this super exciting beyond Warbands, though? Because I think it is. I think Warbands by themselves are exciting enough, but I think there's something about them that makes them even more exciting. And you're going to have to go with me on this one, guys, okay? So it's the fact that this isn't like something they could just enable, you know? I think a lot of us thought they could just make a lot of this stuff account wide if they wanted to, and that they were choosing not to. What we've learned in the course of this BlizzCon, and that's not what happened at all. And actually, to make all of this account-wide stuff possible, they've had to go in to the infrastructure. They've had to literally take it apart. They've had to put it back together again. They've built a new thing. And when they build a new thing in WoW, that is always very, very exciting, because what they do is they build a new thing for one purpose, and then that enables a whole bunch of other stuff down the line. So, you know, like phasing is phasing, sharding, stuff like that. There's the initial reason it was developed, and then there's the ways that they find to use it later on. You know, there's that seamless kind of loading in tech that they use to get down to Zaralek, and now they're using it for other things as well. And this is the WoW ship of Theseus. This is why it's so silly when people say WoW needs a new engine, and it's like, dude, like, which one? So, like, what's exciting is, you know, they've changed the entire way that basically alts work, and like your characters and your account characters are collected together in the game to make this work. And that's very, very exciting to me because, like I say, I am of the opinion that we're going to get player housing sooner than anyone thinks. I'm of the opinion that even though it wasn't announced as a feature of 11.0, I think it might happen. And one of the reasons for that is looking at this. One of the reasons for that is looking at Warbands here, and you just think, doesn't that just set it up perfectly for Warband housing? You know, if you can collect everything together like this, I just feel like it makes everything a lot more feasible. Now, that is not the only reason I think it, by the way, but it's definitely one of the reasons for sure. Definitely for sure. Another reason I think it is because something that someone said to me. And they didn't say there is going to be housing. In fact, they said something pretty innocent and not very leaky or anything at all. And it was a very random exchange. And when that person walked away, I kind of looked at the people I was with and I was like, did they just say there was going to be player housing? And the people I was with were like, no, but kind of. So I'm just saying, this is why BlizzCon's so great, right? Is because people say any old shit and you can make it mean whatever you want. And I have decided to make the thing that I heard mean that we're going to be getting player housing. That's what I heard. It might not be what was said, but it's what I heard. What was said was probably something like, yo, excuse me, you're stepping on my foot. Please, can you get off? I'd be like, ooh, like player housing? I know. And then thinking about Warbands a lot and looking at it, I just feel like it's on the way. And one thing that I think we can all appreciate, and one thing that I think we can all agree on probably, is that it's definitely happening. You know, at this moment, there are probably people that have been working on making player housing happening for multiple expansions, honestly. And in fact, it wouldn't surprise me, genuinely wouldn't surprise me, if the changes in the infrastructure that has happened for Warbands was actually done with player housing in mind. And that, you know, like, it's like they decided, if we're going to make player housing, we need to make these specific changes to the infrastructure of the game. We're going to have to go in there. We're going to have to literally just destroy some stuff, and we're going to have to literally just build some stuff from scratch. That's what we're going to have to do. If we're going to make player housing work, that's just what we have to do. We're at that stage now, and that's what we have to do. So they did it, and they went in there, and they made the changes that they had to make. And then they were like, boom, good, we've done it. And they were like, you know what else? It's actually like, yeah, we will turn this into player housing, but in a much shorter term, we can just now make everything account wide. In the meantime, that's what we can do. Ryzen doesn't think so, but that's okay because, that's all right. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. And like I say, I'm only going on like essentially gut feeling here, honestly. I can see player housing being like outposts, garrisons. Yeah, totally. And I can see it being like a guild house, but for your alts, right? Like a warband house. Why not? It'd be awesome. They'd say, no, we are not having player housing. We are having warband camps. When you go and make your camp a home for your character in game. Yeah, totally. Something like that. I think it'd be really, really good. Just like the Western Storms, right? We'll definitely go beyond the Western Storms. That's definitely happening. This is what I think. I whether or not what I just described as they went in there to change something to make it viable for player housing, and this was something they could get finished first because of the changes they made. I've got a feeling that might be true. I have no idea if it is or not, right? But that seems to be likely in my opinion. However, it doesn't really matter if this isn't connected to player housing at all initially. If you were going to utilize player housing, then the changes they've made for warbands would definitely, you'd imagine, be helpful for player housing, right? It just feels like if having all this account-wide stuff was something they couldn't do before, then the fact they can do it now means that undoubtedly the changes that they have made for warbands have objectively made player housing a more likely scenario. Would you agree? Yeah, I think so. I think it's hard to think of a scenario where player housing isn't easier because of the changes that they've made for warbands, honestly. I feel like it would be a better system for people leveling lobbies together. That would also be very cool. I'm not sure I understand why there's such a push for player housing. Won't it isolate people? Maybe something like guild halls or an expansion of class halls might be a good compromise. Yes, I would love guild halls. I would actually prefer guild housing to player housing, like single player housing, but I think both would be great for the game. And the main reason they'd be great for the game is because they're a great single player activity like transmog collecting and stuff like that, which I think carried WoW through WoD, actually. Like, I feel like I remember playing at the end of WoD and being like, this game would literally be dead if it wasn't for transmog right now. I think it's great for players to utilize and have fun with. But more important than that, I think it's the main reason why it'd be such a brilliant idea is because of what it would do for professions. I think, professions are never ever going to be what people want them to be without player housing. People want to be able to dedicate themselves to a profession instead of any other form of gameplay. Like, that's what people really want to be able to do. They want to be like, I want to be a carpenter on this character. That's what I want to do. And at the moment, the game just isn't deep enough to do that. Because to make the best gear, you have to play some level of higher content to make it work, right? In some way. Because all of the stuff that most crafters make is power related. You need the majority of crafting to be not connected to player power if you want crafting to be what people want it to be, in my opinion. And I think that player housing is the ideal way of doing that, because then suddenly you've got an unlimited amount of things which have no connection to player power, are not expansion specific or patch specific or raid specific or anything like that. It's evergreen content. You can have it, so you need to go and delve into content to get the specific things if you want, and that doesn't matter because they're not connected to player power. You can make crafting one single thing so complicated and difficult that it's actually absurd in a way that you could never do if those things were connected to player power. Because at the end of the day, if the best thing in the game to wear on your head is only available through crafting, then on some level, everyone has to be able to get it. And on some level, everyone has to have a decent shot of being able to make it, etc. Whereas if there's no player power connected to it at all, then yeah, you know what? If you want this specific pair of curtains, it's going to take you a fucking year to make one of them. And that's okay. So the person who's actually stupid enough to go out and do it, They're the only one that's done it, and that's brilliant. Like, seriously, like, genuinely, that's what people want crafting to be. People want crafting to be this thing where you're like, there's only one person on this server who has made this thing and who can make this thing. And that doesn't work when it's player power related, but it absolutely works if it's a pair of curtains. Do you think Ian lied about the Drakthir wearing leather? No, I don't think he did. And the only reason I don't think he did is because so you're talking about where he was talking about this screen here in the deep dive, which, by the way, what a fucking incredible deep dive that was. I loved that deep dive. Such a good deep dive. Best deep dive since Legion. That motherfucker came out with a spring in his step and a smirk on his face, and you knew straight away that bitch was going to lay dub after dub after dub down. You can always tell with Ian. He always looks so happy when he knows he's got good shit to do. And that was in that deep dive that he was like, please don't read too much into the Drakthir wearing leather. Now, usually I would say, yeah, absolutely liar. What an absolute lying pants on fire motherfucker. Definitely a lie. However, I met him the day before, just after we'd done our interview with Taran Gregory, and we were like, hey, it must be weird for you, all of the announcements happening today, and then you've got your deep dive tomorrow. And he's like, yeah, but it's actually really cool because it means like you can see what the community is saying about stuff, and you can kind of, adapt. Like, I'm able to like look back at things that people were saying in the community today and adapt some of the things I'm going to say tomorrow to kind of address points in the community and things like that. That's what he said. And I'm certain he was talking about the leather on that Drakthir right there. Like, genuinely, like I'm looking back on him saying that. I'm certain that he was specifically talking about that Drakthir because the Drakthir conversation had already started by that stage. Anyway, I think that's the case for player housing. I think it would be really, really good for the game. Would it be isolating? Not if they did it correctly, no. If they did player housing like they do in ESO, then it wouldn't be isolating at all. What they do in ESO is you get bits of the living world, and so it's like, we are going to put a player housing apartment in Stormwind. Right? And this is what everyone wants from WoW anyway. They don't want a separate housing district somewhere. They want their apartment in Stormwind. They want their little hut in Grizzly Hills. They want to live in Suramar. Shit like that, okay? And the way ESO does it is really good. It's like every expansion, there's a few new like slots where you can go and buy them. And anyone can buy them. They're not limited. I can buy it, and Evie can buy it on her game, and I will own it, and on my game, she will own it on her game. So, you are going to Stormwind to go to your Stormwind house. So people have to go through Stormwind to get to their Stormwind house. People have to go through the Grizzly Hills to get to their Grizzly Hills house, or whatever, Yeah, exactly. I think that's the best way of doing it in WoW for sure. And I don't think it will be isolating. There's not the reason garrisons were isolating was not because of the player housing element of them. It wasn't because everyone was sitting around taking such delight in all the amazing customization options they had. The reason it was isolating was because you could do all of your herbing there and all of your mining and have a bank, right? That's why garrisons were isolating, was because you never had to leave to do your gameplay loop. So even if you could teleport to your house at Stormwind, which you'd have to, I guess, thinking about it, but you're not going to be doing your herbing there. You're not going to be doing your mining there. So that was the problem with garrisons for sure. Garrisons were a personal city. You're absolutely right, and that wouldn't happen with this. But I think my prediction is, and this is a prediction which is probably about as accurate as my expansion predictions were, but I've just got a feeling. I've just got this feeling that we're going to get player housing as part of 11.0. Maybe not as like a launch feature, but I've got a feeling. But maybe. I've just got something. I feel like they're just keeping something back. I don't know. I'm probably completely wrong. When I say this is a prediction, it's not like a mark my words. It's not that kind of prediction. It's just like I just got this feeling. You know, it's the same kind of feeling that I had about Avaloran being wrong. Anyway, like and subscribe.